In today's show, the Trail Blazers are back. And by that, I mean that they lost a game that you can feel good about. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trail Blazers, your daily Portland Trail Blazers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trail Blazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You're listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen, coming at you every single weekday, Monday through Friday. So make it a part of your daily routine. Tell your friends to do the same. Make it your first listen. It's Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's show, talk about two games over the weekend. Friday night, a loss to the Wolves, and Sunday night, a good old-fashioned quality loss. The Blazers getting back to their core competencies, and that's losing a game you can feel good about. It's been a minute since they've come away with a loss that you could say, heck yeah. Coming out of a loss, and I thought Sunday nights was a much needed, just sort of feel good L in a season that used to have many of them and now only has feel bad losses of late. We'll talk about both those games. We'll recap them both, talk a little bit more about that Suns matchup, and then we'll talk trade season. For some of you with your tinfoil hats, you will enjoy that third segment. And for the freaks out there who really want to just only listen to trade stuff, check the timestamps in the episode description for you. But let's do what we do. Fastest recap in the West. Blazers wrapped up a 7-game road trip with Game 7, second night of a back-to-back in Minneapolis on Friday. This game was always a loss, so the Blazers went ahead and got it out of the way early. They lose 116-93. They're down 36-15 after one. Down 21 points, trailblazed as many as 22. But I thought they played pretty well. Start of the second quarter, they didn't have that sort of super quitter game that they've had recently. Found themselves still down 21 at halftime, 63-42. But a stinker third quarter kind of put the game away for good. Blazers head into the fourth down, 57-88. It's your ball game. They're down 31. It's over. Fourth quarter, mostly garbage time, and they lose 116-93. To the box score we go. Jabari Walker 17-13 off the bench. He had 8-8 through three quarters, and then he had 9-5 in the fourth quarter. I thought he played well, even if you just say he had 8-8. I thought Jabari Walker played well. It's weird with these games that are over after three, and there's an extended run of meaningless minutes. But I thought he played pretty well. 17-13. He hit 6 of 11 shots, go down back of the lineup, and he played like it. 14 from Toumani Camara, played well. He didn't play like he was back in the lineup. I guess he did because he participated. 14 from Toumani Camara, 14 from Duop Reith, including 6 rebounds, 13 from Jeremy Grant on 4 of 15 shooting, 8 from Scoot Henderson to go along with 6 turnovers and 4 assists. He was not good. Anthony Simons, 5 points on 0 of 10 shooting. 0 of 10 shooting, 5 of 5. All of them came at the free throw line. And was just, this is kind of homery, I'll be honest, but I don't even think they played that bad against the Wolves. I think this was just a normal, short-handed, they have some injuries. There were Matisse Thybulle, Malcolm Brogdon, and Grant all played in this one. They didn't play Sunday, but missing their starting center, missing Shaden Sharp, kind of just normal bad game where you get your butt kicked. I didn't think this was that troubling, except Anthony Simons missed a bunch of shots, and I feel like if Anthony Simons hits some shots, it is less troubling. They still probably get thrashed and lose by 25, but like I said, I didn't think they played that poorly. I don't think the effort was that bad in this game. I thought this was just a game where they lost because Minnesota's a lot better than them, and they couldn't hang. And the size was a big problem. Minnesota's just really big. 23 from Karl Anthony Towns to go with 8 boards, 24 and 17 rebounds for Rudy Gobert. The Blazers kept switching, and Rudy Gobert kept making layups. 14 for Naz Reid off the bench. Their centers feasted. 9 from Anthony Edwards, who didn't really have to do anything. He had 6 assists as well. 9 and 10 dimes from Michael Conley, and 9 points from Jaden McDaniels. A bunch of other Wolves had points off the bench in garbage time. Let's get to Sunday's game. That's your fastest recap in the West. Blazers lose 116-93. I don't think we need to say anything more about that one. I thought normal beatdown. File this under normal beatdown. It was not troubling in the slightest to me. Blazers come back Sunday night after a long road trip, and the injury report was something to behold. Blazers with just 8 healthy players in this game. No Shaedon Sharpe. He was ruled out the day before. And DeAndre Ayton still listed as questionable. He's upgraded from doubtful to questionable, but still didn't end up playing in this game. Ibu Baji on Saturday is listed as questionable with a bruised hip. So it's like, okay, they could be real shorthanded. Then Sunday afternoon at like 4 o'clock, an injury report update comes out, and Matisse Thybulle and Jeremy Grant are both on it, and they're listed as questionable with illnesses. And Malcolm Brogdon is questionable with a right groin injury. And then about an hour later, just as Chauncey was about to do his pregame media, the team announced that all those dudes are out. So no Ayton, no Baji, no Matisse Thybulle, no Jeremy Grant, no Malcolm Brogdon. That's, along with Shaedon Sharpe, obviously, like, they're missing Moses Brown and Rob Williams, but like end of season guys, season ending injury types are not really on you don't really put them on the list. Moses Brown's only about 6 weeks, not season ending, but like, they had 8 players. Blazers had 8 players, and they lose 127-116. Let's get into it. But I think this was a legitimately good win. Good loss. Good loss. They'll win again at some point. They might win later this week. Brooklyn and Indiana, they might win this week, but we'll see. But Blazers came out hot. They made 7 threes in the first quarter, only turned the ball over 2 times. They're up 33-31 after 1. Like, they just, the Suns, the Suns couldn't slow them down, and they made shots. Like that was the key in this one. But Blazers go into the half. They had a chance to be only down single digits, but the Suns shot clock violation, then a Suns 3. Blazers find themselves down 10, 61-71 at halftime. Played well enough to be closer than that, but only down 10. You'll take it. They go into the third quarter, and the Suns start to build a real lead by as many as 17, and go into the fourth quarter up 92-106. This game's over, right? Blazers, the Suns are finally up 14, finally getting a little bit of comfort. Led by as many as 17. Devin Booker has 30 after 3 quarters. They're going to roll. Wrong. The Blazers come charging back, cut it to 4 twice in the fourth quarter, including a Scoot Henderson tip in with 4 minutes and 47 seconds left, cut it to 109-113. Blazers down 4 with under 5 to go in this game. A chance to shock the world with 8 healthy players. But Kevin Durant misses a 3. Tamani Kamara misses like a semi-transition or just like an early clock 3-pointer from the left wing. Then Jabari Walker, he wasn't shot ready. He got the ball in the corner and he wasn't ready to shoot. So then he took a weird dribble to no man's land, turns the ball over, and Suns run the other way. Beal gets an and one. They don't really run. They ended up just running a pick and roll, and Brad Beal attacked Duop and one. 6 straight points. Then Blazers fail to score, and Yusuf Nurkic gets a bucket inside and go up by 12, and that's kind of it. That's about a 2-minute stretch in there with three Blazers possessions. A missed 3. The and one was before Jabari Walker's turnover. Missed 3 and 1. Jabari turns it over. Nurk gets a layup inside, and they go up by 12 with 2.5 left. And that's kind of your ball game, and that's that 127-116. That's your fastest recap in the West. Blazers were led by Scoot Henderson, who scored a career-high 33 points to go with 7 boards, 9 assists, 3 steals. Had just 3 turnovers to go with his 9 assists, 3-to-1 assist-turnover ratio. Shot well from 3, 4 of 9. Shot well from the free throw line, 7 of 9. Did not shoot well from 2. 7 of 22 inside the arc. Kind of wild that you can go 7 of 22 inside the arc and go 4 of 9 from 3. But anything's possible. Scoot's finishing still leaves something to be desired. Sometimes his decision-making, his explosiveness around the rim. But I'm not too worried about the inefficiency stuff with the 19-year-old. 33, 7, and 9 when they needed him was big. 4 threes was big. He played well. Anthony Simons bounces back from that 0 for 10 night to go 8 of 18 from the floor. 6 of 12 from 3. As long as we're doing this, he was 2 of 6 inside the arc. Everybody shooting 30% inside the arc. Ant, 28 points, 5 boards, 5 assists. He was really good. First time that Scoot and Ant had both had 20-plus in a game together, telling that it has taken so long. But, hey, you'll take it when you get it. 17 from Duop Reith. He had 11 in the first quarter to help the Blazers build that lead. Finished with 17 and 6. 11 from Jabari Walker, who got the start. Tamani Kamara had 2. 13 off the bench for Chris Murray, career high. I thought Chris Murray played really well. Justin Minaya had a great line. 1 point. 2 boards, 5 fouls. He was 0 for 1. He missed his only 3-pointer, was 1 of 2 at the free throw line. 5 fouls in 17 minutes. Dude didn't get cheated. Played hard. The Blazers needed him. He played his butt off. Ryan Rupert played real minutes in this game and hit 3 threes. He finished with 11 points on 4 of 5 shooting, go with 5 boards and 2 assists. Let's talk more about this one. I think this was, like I said, I think this was a game that you can kind of feel good about. I don't know if it goes far to celebrate it. Celebrate might be a little far, but I think in a season when you are searching for like positive vibes, leaving the arena tonight, you got to feel good. Got to feel good about at least the effort they put in. 8 players against the Suns team after all the losses they've had after the road trip that kind of just like torpedoed their whole season. Laid bare all of their problems, all of those things. You come back and this is a Suns game that if they had lost by 35, I'm like, yeah, I guess this is what they do. But instead they were in this game and they played pretty well. And it harkened back to earlier this year when they weren't a mess and they were competitive in these games. Let's talk a little bit about that in the second segment, a little more about that in the second segment. First, I want to tell you about Jace Medical. They are the company that wants you to have peace of mind. That is the whole goal of Jace Medical, is they want you to have that comfort and have that peace of mind. That's why they created the Jace case. It is a pack of 5 different antibiotics to treat a long list of bacterial illnesses. So whether that's a UTI or a respiratory infection, skin infection, among other things, listen, those types of things could happen to us. And if it would give you that peace of mind and that comfort to have antibiotics on hand in your home, Jace Case might be the solution for you. Visit jacemedical.com, complete your physician encounter, be reviewed by a board-certified physician, and then your medications will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the cost. So go to jacemedical.com. You have a video interview. A board-certified physician says, okay, you qualify for what we're offering, and then they just deliver the medications right to your local pharmacy. It's super simple. Listen, it's important to be prepared. So go to jacemedical.com. That's JASEmedical.com, and use the offer code LOCKEDON. You'll get $20 off your order. All right. Look. I know they lost. I know the Blazers lost. I know they've lost a lot of games. I know they're 10-28. 10-29. My apologies. Like I know. I do this 5 freaking nights a week here. So like some of this is honestly, I am in need of positive vibes, just because I think it's been a little doom and gloom. Like, listen to the last podcast, it's like I'm calling for like the coach to not come back the next season, right? It's like, my goal isn't to come up here and yell and be some sort of shock jock thing. I think that's just not who I am. My goal is to be honest, and I feel like, honest to goodness, coming out of that third quarter, the beginning of the fourth quarter, when it's a lineup of Anthony Simons and Ryan Rupert and Chris Murray, along with Duop Reith and mixing in a little Justin Minaya in there, like a super duper deep bench lineup with Ant, and they're hanging in the game. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm like, hey, this is what you wanted. So many times early in this season, the Blazers were, 10-point dogs going into a game and just found a way to hang around and make it, stay within that 8-13 range and just make the other team sweat it, right? Like, and force turnovers and be a menace, right? And I don't think the Blazers necessarily did that tonight. What the Blazers did tonight was they made a bunch of shots. The best plan you can come up with as a coach is to have your dudes shoot 48% from 3. The Blazers were 20 of 42 from 3. So I don't know if this is like necessarily like repeatable, right? Scoot Henderson made 4 of 9 threes. Chris Murray played, probably best game of his career, hit 3 of 6 threes. Ryan Rupert definitely played the best game of his career, 3 of 3 threes. They were huge. And Rupert was hitting threes in the fourth quarter. He hit 2 from the left side that were huge threes to keep the Blazers in this game and make the Suns take timeouts and be like, yo, I don't know who the skinny 72 is. Like, I do not know who that is, but he's acing us, and we keep helping off, and it's a problem. Like, I think this was the reason that they were kind of in this game is because they made 23 pointers. They shot incredibly well, right? Like they shot incredibly well from three, but they also, they didn't get totally punked. So they were plus 13. They had 13 more field goal attempts because they turned the ball over 14 times. The Suns turned the ball over 14 times, but they didn't get totally annihilated in the offensive glass because the Suns are kind of small. They're plus 5 on the offensive glass. And while the Suns took five extra free throws, so it's like shooting possessions, throw that in there, and then the Blazers had like plus 8 in total shooting possessions. The way I do the math, like plus 8 shooting possessions, and you make threes, you're going to be in the game. Like that's what the Blazers did. They're a possession team, and they played well. And like you see things like Scoot Henderson diving to save a ball out of bounds. Duop Reith gets the loose ball and gets for a layup late in the fourth quarter. The Blazers off of what's going to be a turnover. Justin Minaya tracks back on Devin Booker, forces a loose ball tie up, and 4 Blazers end up on the floor. Like just like the scrap was there. There's been some games where they just have been, when you're down like 30, you're just not gonna play that hard. It's just like the nature of the sport. But like, they didn't let themselves get down 30 because they shot well, and then they stayed in the game with their physicality. And this was a game when they could have rolled over. I think defense was still kind of a mess. They're incredibly small. Duop Reith, I think in the last little bit he's a backup center, and I think he's kind of got exposed a little bit as like being that. And I don't think that's like a knock on him, right? Like he's a 27-year-old rookie who's like getting his first break in the league. But the more he has played as a starting center in the league, the more just like his defensive deficiencies and his lack of like sort of pick and roll comfort has kind of come to the forefront. It's been obvious that he's like he would be better in a smaller minute role. That's not a knock on him, right? But like he's your best center by a lot tonight. By a lot. You're playing Jabari Walker, you're playing Toumani Camara, you're playing tiny little lineups with Chris Murray, and Blazers played tough as heck. They played a ton of zone. I thought the zone got shredded in the first half. The Suns got a lot of corner threes, but like you're playing a totally new team, incredibly young team, like with Justin Minaya, a two-way guy, and Ryan Rupert, a teenager, and Chris Murray, who's someone who's played more games, more minutes with the remix than he has with the NBA squad. And then like it's like, oh well, we'll put our experienced team in there, which is like rookie Toumani Camara, second year player Jabari Walker, and 19-year-old Scoot Henderson. Like and rookie Duop Reith. Like you're incredibly young. Like I'm not surprised that the defense didn't look great, but like they made up for it by great shot making and just playing their butts off. And that's they needed a vibes game, and they got it. And I also think like Ant just bounced back and played like he's capable of being pretty good, and he was pretty good in this game. And Scoot was great. Great actually might be an overstatement. Scoot was darn good. He missed 20 shots. Like that's why I'm not saying great, but like I'm the efficiency stuff I'm not super worried about with Scoot. If we are still having this conversation next year, sure, yeah, in year 2, but in year 1, as like. We're talking stepping stones, and to have 33, 7, and 9, it's like solid as hell, and making threes, it matters. Like, and that allows Anthony Simons, like if Scoot is aggressive and makes shots, it allows Anthony Simons to like be himself. They're a wonky pairing as is, like they're just not a great pairing period on either side of the ball. I think we've seen enough of them to know that it's not great, but like, if Scoot can make jumpers and make threes and it attacks the rim and it gets downhill, it lets Anthony Simons be a little more judicious with how he attacks. It lets them not just run a cajillion pick and rolls, send 2 to the ball. I thought Ant at the beginning of this game was having a little bit of trouble getting it out of the traps and a little bit of trouble with decision making, but they they didn't spam it a whole bunch. They didn't run a million Duop Reith and Anthony Simons pick and rolls, and they kind of were able to get a little bit loose and get going. And I thought Ant played, shot it well. And that's what matters. Neither him or Scoot shot it from particularly well from 2, which just Scoot was his volume of bad 2s was way higher. So if Scoot's going to get 9 free throws, it's going to be a good game. He's playing a ton of minutes, 37 and 40, and every time he's played 40. But it's like you got 8 guys they're going to have to play, and the Blazers delivered. And like they lost to a okay team. I'll say this. I'm going to take a big sip of Haterade. Okay, that's really good. The Suns are not good. They're not good. I just like blindly, I would not pick the Suns to win a playoff series. I'm not a believer. If you're a Suns fan, you made it 20 minutes into the podcast. Congratulations. Yeah, I don't think the team's very good. But you don't apologize. Like, Suns looked pretty good just a couple days ago. They looked bad tonight. They looked bad in their other game in Portland. Like, the Blazers just need... There's going to be a lot of games through the rest of the season where they're playing super young and they are saying, Scoot, you can go take 30 shots and get 9 free throw attempts. Like, you can just have, like, you can just be on the ball and do everything and try everything because, like, that's what we're doing from here on out. There's going to be a lot of these games down the stretch of the season. You want games like this where you can come away saying, like, hey, they lost, and, after the, they were kind of in it vaguely at the 5-minute mark, and, a brick and a turnover, and they're all of a sudden out of the game pretty quickly, and it's just over with 2.5 minutes left. And there might be a lot of games like that, but that's way better than the 7-minute mark of the third quarter, down 40, and the coach is pulling everybody out. Obviously, like, duh. But you want this. You want the vibes. You want the vibes. I think this one felt better, and at this point in the season, that's what the Blazers need. They need more games where it feels better. And if you head down the stretch and you are really young and the young guys are scrappy, it'll be so much easier to tolerate the scrap of youth versus what seems like just kind of the bailing out of the canoe of what they've been recently, whether that has to do with the vets or just has to do with, like, they made shots tonight, so they kept themselves in the game. I think we'll get a couple more chances to see if, like, I guess what I'm joking there is, like, I'm not sure that, like, Ryan Rupert makes the team more watchable than Jeremy Grant, but what I do actually think is that Ryan Rupert struggling will feel a lot better than watching Jeremy Grant and Malcolm Brogdon struggle, and this could be more palatable. And I felt like coming out of this game, I said, you know what, the season might be really rocky. Here we are 3 weeks ahead of the trade deadline, might be really rocky post deadline. It's been really rocky the last couple weeks, like in all of January. So maybe this would be a more palatable version of that turbulence. Okay, it is officially, as you're listening to this Monday, January 15th show, trade season. It's here. I guess that was the ghost of trade season. I don't know what that character was. In any case, let's talk trades because it's here. Let's do it. That's what we'll do to close the show. Join me there. First, let's talk about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. The NFL playoffs are here. We just wrapped up, Monday evening, as you're listening to this, we'll wrap up the first round of NFL playoffs. And right now, FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL, wants to give you $5 if you make, $150 in bonus bets if you make any $5 bet. Make a $5 bet, win or lose, you get $150 in bonus bets to play with. That's whatever you want to get in on once you get your bonus bets. So the most elaborate parlay you could possibly cook up, live bets on all the games, prop bets on anything you could possibly imagine, future bets on whatever it is. You can mix and match sports. You can have a whole bunch of fun. So make a $5 bet and get $150 in bonus bets to play with. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. Still a pass first point guard. I'm still Mike Richmond, and you are still listening to Locked On Blazers. It is trade season. And by that, I mean we've already had 2 trades in the NBA. I will say I'm a regular reader of the Steinline, Mark Stein's Substack, and he's our newsletter, and he's been pushing that trade season actually starts on December 15th when 40% of the league can be traded, and if you go back the last 8 years, within a month of December 15th, there's been at least one trade, and it always happens. And the people who say it doesn't start till January are actually wrong, and I'm one of those people, Mark. And you might be right because we got our second trade of the NBA season today. Marvin Bagley headed to the Washington Wizards in exchange for Danilo and Isaiah Livers with a couple second-round picks in exchange for Danilo, Gallinari, and Mike Muscala. The Pistons gets a chance to create a boatload of cap space this summer to either, load up on bad contracts and yada, 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 and build or sign someone to the Detroit Pistons. We'll see. We will see how it works for Detroit. They paid a total of 4 second-round picks, 2 to get Bagley and 2 to send him out the door. 4 second-round picks for the right to not really enjoy the Marvin Bagley experience. What a time in Detroit. It's why I don't believe in losing culture. I believe in losing franchises. The decision makers screwed up more than the vibes. But it's trade season nonetheless. The trade deadline is February 8th, and the Pistons and perhaps Wizards have kicked us into higher gear. And listen, I know you tinfoil hat folks. I know after 4 p.m. when the Blazers had 3 veterans show up out of nowhere on the injury report, you said, hey, trade's coming. And I'll say this, typically this time of year, just use Occam's razor. Whatever is the most simple solution, whatever is the most obvious solution or answer is going to be the correct answer. Like, don't complicate it. The Blazers just spent 2 weeks, 15 days on the road playing 7 games in 5 different cities. They were all over the freaking map, traveling everywhere, and their 40-person pirate ship that travels all around the country in a private jet. Yeah, there's an illness going around. So Jeremy Grant and Matisse Thybulle are sick. It's like it happens. The Malcolm Brogdon thing is like better for the tinfoil hats, right? Because I think he's certainly the most likely player to get traded. Let's be clear. I don't think Jeremy Grant will be traded at the trade deadline. I think he could be, but I think the Blazers will ask for a lot because they don't feel pressure to trade him. And they think like, if we're going to dump him for salary relief and 2 second-round picks, let's just dump him for salary relief and 2 second-round picks later. Like, why would we do? There's no pressure. So like, you're going to have to wow him, right? Like, you're going to have to wow him. And so I don't think Jeremy Grant will get traded because I don't think they'll get wowed. I think they'll be, I think they'll hold on to him. Matisse Thybulle basically he has effectively a no trade clause since he signed a offer sheet with the Mavs and the Blazers matched it. He can, for the first year of his contract, for an entire year, he can veto trades. So he basically, him and his representation, Aaron Goodwin, can, if the Blazers are trying to trade him, they can make sure they're going to go to a situation that works out for them. Like, that's like why you have an agent. So they get you to the right spot. Milwaukee, Wisconsin, everyone's preferred destination. So like, Matisse is not really on the trade block. There's no such thing as a trade block anyways. Brogdon, though, is a likely trade candidate. It would be wrong if the Blazers don't trade Malcolm Brogdon. It would just be a mistake. They got guards who need to play, and it's just it's time to move on. He was a rental. They rented him, trade him for a good package, consider it part of the Damian Lillard haul, and pat yourself on the back, or get frustrated, whatever you want to do. But they got to trade him. So like, if you're really tinfoil hatty thing, Malcolm Brogdon resting on the first night of a back-to-back, playing and then showing up as a late addition, questionable with right groin soreness, right abductor soreness, keeping him out. That is like more tinfoil hatty than the other stuff was like dudes being sick. I don't buy it. I think the simplest explanation is that Malcolm Brogdon is going to get traded in the next couple weeks, and tonight his groin was a little bit sore. Both at the same time. Por qué no los dos? Before the game, Chauncey Billups told reporters that DeAndre Ayton's getting close, getting very close. So seems like he could be back this week. The Blazers have Monday and Tuesday off. They play Wednesday against Brooklyn and then Friday against the Indiana Pacers. So we will perhaps see him soon, later this week, hopefully Wednesday against Brooklyn. But I think in general, it's sort of wrapping up a sort of mini little trade saga about the Blazers, or segment about Blazers rather, excuse me. They are one of the few teams that is going to be selling. So I don't think there is reason for the Blazers to go early. Another reason I don't believe the tinfoil hat stuff. Why would the Blazers need to make a trade on January 15th? Why wouldn't they just make the best trade they possibly can on February 8th at 10 a.m., right? Like a couple hours before the deadline. Maybe they get Vlade Divac and I had a better trade yesterday type of thing. But I think like the real truth is that they're the biggest, not the biggest sellers because Pascal Siakam exists, but like, and DeJounte Murray, but like, so Toronto and Atlanta are certainly maybe the bigger dominoes here, but the Blazers are a seller. They're one of the few teams that's like, would do you want a valuable vet in Malcolm Brogdon, who's like just crushing it as a catch and shoot shooter? How many teams could use a reliable ball handler, playmaker who crushes in an off ball role? A lot of good teams could use Malcolm Brogdon. So like, wait and get the best deal, right? Also, like for my tinfoil hat folks, they're not making a deal with JG, Malcolm Brogdon, and Matisse Thybulle, that's like $60 million involved. That's like a huge trade. I think if they were to trade both veterans, it would be in separate deals. That would be my guess. I guess conceivably they could, but it just seems unlikely that another team is going to come up with $60 million in salary that kind of fits what the Blazers want to do, but multi-team deals exist. I get it. I think the Blazers are inevitably going to trade Malcolm Brogdon. I don't think they'll trade Jeremy Grant. I don't even think Matisse Thybulle is like, he basically has a no trade clause. So, they're not going to trade Anfernee Simons at the trade deadline. It would be an absolute stunner, and no one else on their team has like real value that they would consider trading, like Scoot and Shaedon Sharpe. And I don't think injured and underperforming DeAndre Ayton has much trade value. So I think they're going to be patient. I think they're going to wait, and I think their move is to eventually trade Malcolm Brogdon sometime here in the next 3 weeks. But as of tomorrow, or as of today, I'm recording this on Sunday night. As of today, January 15th, on Monday, the whole league can be traded. There's a handful of guys who have can't be traded because of when they signed contracts and some sort of extension rules and stuff like that. But for the most part, 90% of the league can officially be traded now. Trade season is here. It's going to happen over the next 3 weeks. I don't expect the Blazers to be the team that moves first, but I expect them to be a team that eventually makes a move. And that move being Malcolm Brogdon. I can be specific about it. Okay. Guess what? Tomorrow's show, we will look ahead to the rest of the week and chase down some statistical trends as well as the latest updates in Blazer land. That will be Tuesday's show. Wednesday show ahead of the Blazers' next game will be a draft look ahead with Rafael Barlow. Make sure you do not miss that one. It'll be in your feed on Wednesday, late Tuesday night if you're an audio listener, and Wednesday morning if you're a video listener. Rafael Barlow, host of Locked On NBA Big Board and the writer of the NBA Big Board newsletter. Plugged in professional scout. He's going to get us caught up on everything Blazer fans need to know. Don't miss that one. There is a chance winter weather derails that but sometime this week. Wednesday's the plan. If not, later this week, Rafael Barlow. Check that one out. That's what we do 5 days a week, wherever you get podcasts, and also on YouTube. I appreciate you listening. Tell your friends about the podcast. I'll talk to you soon.